Once again, I remind you that if you were to ask me whether I gave a Dzogchen teaching or not, yes, I did. I have given Dzogpa Chenpo Longchen Yingtik ngondro, the ngondro for the Dzogpa Chenpo teaching coming from the Longchen Yingtik tradition of Rigzen Jigme Lingpa. Because it looks like every time when people say, I have received Dzogchen teachings, they are always referring to the pointing out instructions. But that is not only the case, because Longchen Yingtik ngondro is also a Dzogchen teaching. It is actually more important because it is the root. This is what Patrul Rinpoche say, that in his tradition, ngondro is more important than the main teaching. It is very possible that you will encounter a master, and you might even encounter the experience like Nyoshu Lungto's disciples, like the sound of Vajra falling on hitting on the table, and temporarily all ordinary thoughts stopping. It is possible that it can happen to you. But to maintain that experience, you need merit, you need to really have the renunciation mind, all of that. Because, as I said, first thing we must have is we need to have this wanting to achieve enlightenment. We are not wanting enough enlightenment. We are not wanting enlightenment enough at the moment. We keep on wanting more and more the non-enlightenment, the samsara. Because actual introduction, actual recognition of the nature of the mind, if it clicks, it's very simple. But as I said, if it clicks, and why it's not clicking is because we are not wanting it enough. Refuge and bodhicitta, although it is exactly same as what is taught in the Mahayana Sutras, here it can be considered as a tantric teaching because we have skillful means such as the refuge tree, visualizing the Guru as the Guru Rinpoche, and all the other attributes. Now, with the Vajrasattva, in order to purify the defilements, we apply the skillful means of the Vajrasattva, extraordinary skillful means. This is very, you can say it's more unique to the Tantrayana now. As I said earlier, in the Tantra, big part of the Tantric practice is decoding. You know, we say always, Tilla marji chapashindu. The equal amount of sesame seed has, a kilo of sesame seed has corresponding oil in it. Likewise, just metaphorically speaking, 1 kilo of anger will have 1 kilo of Buddha nature. This is how it is. And not only the mental thing, actually even the physical. Like our body is very much a manifestation of the Buddha nature. And this is a typical Dzogpa Chenpo's way of expressing. It's at the moment when I'm looking at myself, my capacity, my ability to look at myself is looking at a human body. That is the only perception my merit can handle. You can use the word dimension. Right now, mostly I look at my body and see a human dimension. That's about the only capacity I have. Understanding this, the projection or the dimension is really important in the Tantrayana. When a child look at their mother, the dimension is mother. When the husband looks at the wife, dimension or the projection is wife. The same, that woman. So it's all projection works like this. And you have a certain projection about me. And based on that, you have fear, expectations, hope. I don't know what you have about me. You know, if I let me worry you a little bit. You know, when we talk about the different realms, especially ghost realms, it's believed that they are what we call half ghost.
We have
half ghost or partial ghost, or partial also something like a blood drinker. So many of us, including myself, we could be only partially human being. This is very common, actually. It's very common. And sometimes the other part, that is maybe a blood drinker, when you look at the other human, you might feel very famished. Yeah, the world of projection is just so amazing. It is really amazing. I think the Tibetan word is called tul.
True.
It's such a beautiful word, tul. It could mean hallucination, fantasizing, having ideas. And that's what we are experiencing right now. Between you and me, between each other, we have our ideas of the other. You will, and it's complicated by all kinds of culture and the tradition and the hang-ups and the habit. If I ask someone like Dr. Leo to strip now on this stage, he might have a little difficulty because his projection is complicated by all kinds of cultural stuff, you know, Confucius values, not to mention what will happen back home with the wife. But if we give him lots of alcohol, and when he gets drunk, we may not need to ask him, he will do it voluntarily. Projection is changed because of a temporary substance. So it is this net matrix, or it is this system of projection that a Tantrayana is so good at penetrate or manipulate or play with. With Tantrayana's own methods. You know, like you know, why do we have this kind of, you know, oh, I shouldn't strip here? Because we have been using the method of, oh, you know, like you should behave in front of the public and stuff like that, kind of mantras and samadhis we have been practicing. So in the Tantra, they have their own technique to manipulate this net, such as mantras, such as, you know, yogas, visualizations. So with a, you know, based on this kind of philosophy, visualizing our guru in the form of Vajrasattva on the top of your head, chanting the mantra, sit syllables such as letter Hum, invoking nectar, and cleansing your body, speech, and mind. Cleansing is one word. You can use the decoding, straightening. And of course, with other methods such as, you know, what we are trying to do is we are trying to purify the defilements. And we are not only, when we said defilements, we are not only talking about the defilements. Of course, we are talking about defilements such as defilements like anger, jealousy, pride, all kinds of ignorance. But we have defilements like we see this only as a flower. That's it. We don't see the other dimensions. That's a defilement. We are stuck with it. We are limited with it. So we try to purify these defilements or decode this old system. And by the way, the main decoding tool, refuge and bodhicitta, which we have been talking, and visualizing the Guru as the Vajrasattva, having this confidence that he is the embodiment of all the Buddhas, and regret towards all the misgivings and misdeeds of the past, and clearly applying the method such as the chanting the mantra. And like even mantra, like as you chant Om, Hum, or stuff like that, when we chant the mantra, what it is doing, it is, as you can see physically, Om, shape of the mouth is different, shape of the mouth is different. Not only the mouth, therefore all the channels and chakras, they function differently, each syllable. So then it vibrates the system and it decodes. Then also generating the determination of not to do or not to fall into these misgivings. With such kind of attitude, we try to purify defilements, and towards the end, Vajrasattva dissolves into you and you become Vajrasattva. From now, this time you as the Vajrasattva, from your heart comes lots of light and purify defilements of all the sentient beings and decode them, and they arise as the Vajrasattva. Place as the mandala, beings as the deities. These are very very big subject. For instance, right now the sound of the air condition, we can only hear it as a sound of air condition. We can't hear it as a sound of mantra. I have a feeling that when people think, okay, all the sound as the mantra, then suddenly people think that all the dogs must bark like Om, Hum. That's never the case. When the dogs bark, the sound of the barking will not change. Doesn't have to change. It is the sound of the mantra. But at the moment, that's how it's not working to us, because we are narrowed to he's a dog and he's barking. That's how we have narrowed ourselves. It's like a language, for instance. Until we learn it, it's not a communicatable. So everything, sound of the air condition, this continuous sound of air condition. At the moment we are not, it's because it's coded, so we are not being able to decode that. And Vajrasattva mantra, 106 syllables, supreme in purifying the defilements. Each syllable represents a deity. Again, when we think about a deity, immediately you think a deity in the context of some kind of standing up, sitting down, holding lotus, holding sword. Not like that. It's just deity is just a projection. Again, it's a different function. Even in our ordinary world, we know a lot of people, some people, they're just so paranoid, they look at other people's face and they're so afraid. We are just not able to look at the faces of people. For others, when we project to a particular people, we think they're very beautiful, desirable, so on and so forth. Projection, perfection of the projection is the deity. But please don't think the moment we mention the deity, some kind of slanted eyes, halo, very compassionate looking, those very, very limited way of understanding the deity. For this reason, like Tantric deities. I went to this place called the East India called Orissa. It is one of the, two sort of major site of Tantric place in India. And the stone carvings of the Tantric deities, they are just amazing. Like, the Dakinis with, I think this, I'm sure many people have seen, the Dakini who have chopped her own head and holding her head. Sparrows, for instance, bird sparrows. All this, but again, all these things can get easily misunderstood as a local shamanist sort of, like spirits and all of that. Anyway, if you want to learn Tantra, you might as well get used to or get comfortable with things that is unbelievable. But that's difficult because this comfort zone of believable, to believe in believable is a big comfort zone. Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche, the first, while he's in Dzongsar, sitting on his bed, he had like a momentary sort of a dozing, like a nap, just a moment of dozing. That momentary dozing, he was in South India in search for Avalokiteshvara. And he was looking everywhere among lots and lots of people, bazaars and all kinds of things.
很多人都
And then suddenly there's this beautiful, bare-chested, beautiful, handsome, very, very handsome looking man approaching him. So masculine. And he came straight towards Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche, and in a perfect woman's voice said, "My parents are waiting for you. You are invited for lunch." So he was overjoyed. And he went, and there was this gardens and fountains and palaces. And then came the parents to receive him. And they were none other than Mahadeva, Shiva, and his consort Uma. And then Mahadeva said, "I believe that you have met my son, who is none other than the Mahakala." There's a particular Mahakala, Gombo Manning, we call them. Manning is Mahakala that's neither male nor female. So there we go. This happened within one moment of dozing. Our projection is so limited. And just to conclude the story, I think with this momentary experience, with Jamgon Ngondro Rinpoche, Lord Thaye, they both invoke a great treasure teaching of Avalokiteshvara. In order to continue and finish the mandala, in order to enjoy this abundance, infinite matrix of Buddha, one must have the ability. For that, accumulation of merit is so important. So, and importantly, this is something important you must register. The real merit is actually the Buddha nature. All the other merits are just to make it shine, so to speak. Many, many methods are there to accumulate merit. I don't need to mention this more than anyone else. The Chinese who are following the Mahayana tradition, they are so good at accumulation of merit. It has to be accompanied by the bodhicitta. It has to begin, initiated with the bodhicitta. It must accompanied with bodhicitta. In other words, it should be also understood as an illusion, whatever you are accumulating. And dedicate this merit to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. As a technique to accumulate the merit within the context of Longchen Yingti Ngondro, visualizing the same refuge field, or in this case, field of merit. And then using the methods or symbols such as mandala plates, rice, coins, whatever. And not only thinking that these are substance, mundane substance, meager substance such as stones and rice and flowers, but each and every drop of grain consists of infinite numbers of offering substance. Although at the moment when you chant a mandala such as the 37 hips, there is a lot of Indian influence here. And like wish-fulfilling cow, that's very Indian. But sky is the limit. Visualize whatever you want. Whatever you think is precious and valuable. Gold, silver, sun, moon, lake, gardens, hot springs, I don't know, lady of the garland, dancing ladies, whatever you think is supposedly precious in our limited human projection. Bear in mind, we are not doing these offerings because the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas needs those and they really are looking for it. We are doing this for our own accumulation of merit. Whatever you are detaching from what you think is precious is good. And don't think that, visualizing offering substance may not have much merit since you are not spending much. Because projection of the mind is so powerful. Actually, that's all we have. But also, whatever we can substantially offer, that's also very good. But more practically, for the busy people like ourselves, because many of us might not have time to do all these mandala offerings and stuff like that. But you can still discipline yourself, like maybe have a statue of the Buddha or a dharma text like a Vajracchedika Sutra. Put it somewhere where you think is sort of higher and respectful, and make offerings of water, lamp, incense. And when you do that, for instance, like water offering or a flower offering, make a big deal out of it, even though it may be just one bowl of water offering. Like cleaning it, like putting it really properly, aesthetically, beautifully. Because all this is a sacrifice of energy, time, it involves concentration. So all in all, you are accumulating merit. It should not become like some kind of a wage to this thing that is protecting us, sort of some kind of like something that you have to do, like obligation. Arranging it properly, putting basically emphasis on these things. So there's just so many methods of accumulating the merit. The masters of the past said, it's actually easier to accumulate, it's easier to do something good than bad. And this kind of spirit of offerings, this kind of, culture or the spirit of offering is what makes the place, the person, the environment holy. Like I was just recently in Nepal. And this is one country that's like degenerating every 10 seconds. It's really degenerate. As a country, it's like falling apart. Sewage system, no power. It doesn't matter. Everything is going down the hill. But one has to admit, it's just so magical. There's no other reasons for that, like beautiful shopping centers and, none of that, like, I don't know, like good highways. There isn't. It's actually falling apart. But what makes this place so magical is this thing, you can just sit somewhere in Bauda. Almost every minute you hear the bell ringing somewhere, or some kind of a worshipping is going on, whether it's a Buddhist or Hindus, doesn't matter. There's some kind of a, something that is beyond this world going on. I have to say that actually such kind of energy even exists with some of the more concentrated sort of, Christian place. I was in Russia and I went to this church and there's just so many devotees. And you can feel something. It's just so calm. It's the house of the God. It's really, even most kind of atheist person like myself, feels like this is the house of divine. You know, it's very special. I have to say this, I'm sure, I hope my Japanese friends will not be mad with me. You know, like going to Zen temples in Kyoto, they're just so beautiful. Just so beautiful. But that magical bit is missing. Because it's just like a museum piece. It's just so beautiful. That's it. I'm afraid that some of the big temples in Singapore, Malaysia, also in Taiwan, if they have to be careful not to become like some kind of a Disneyland. Because that's very dangerous, you know. You know, the magical aspect. You know, for ordinary beings like us, so important, you know, for this kind of thing, this magical experience, so important. For great beings, doesn't matter. Dzongsar Khentse Rinpoche invoke a treasure teaching in Siliguri train station. It has to be one of the most depressing places, I tell you. And this is all due to the merit of sentient beings. This kind of, you know, like magical place. Okay, so that's all today. And tomorrow we will do the rest of it, and then I'll give you also the transmission of Poa, which is very short, by the way. I will also maybe briefly explain if you have time.